And we are live, guys. For those of you that don't know, this is Ross Gallin. If you guys are in the Facebook groups, what's going on, Rick? What's going on, Buddha? Bruce? He's not. I know Bruce isn't in the Facebook groups, so I know Rick is. But if you guys are in the Facebook groups, Ross has been pretty active in the Facebook groups for a while now, and
Yeah.
he. How many years were you at ECJ Lux in Charlotte that you worked, Ross?
I was there 10 years and in retail 20 in Charlotte.
Okay. Okay. Now, what did you do before ECJ Lux?
I still worked in watches. I just worked with a different store, different brands, Rolex, Patek, JLC, Panerai, Breitling, everybody else out there.
But Ross has been instrumental. He's been one of the people that's helped the channel grow, and I really appreciate that. If it wasn't for Ross, I wouldn't have been able to check out two of my Grail watches, the Blanc Pawn, which I will one day own, but or the Zenith El Primero as well. What's going on, Amin? There's Amin Reviews. He's one of the people that's on the tour list for the watch.
Oh, awesome!
For the
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah,
we appreciate the support.
But yeah, he's like I said, he's been instrumental in helping the channel grow, and he's lent in a lot of pieces as well, including the Blanc Pawn, the Graham. There was another Ernst Brands. There's a whole bunch that Ross has lent in.
Yeah.
But what are you wearing tonight, Ross? What watch?
So you broke up there. What'd you say?
What watch are you wearing tonight?
I have the Ernst Benz Chrono Lunar on right now.
Oh, nice.
So you'll get this one to check out for review in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm rocking it today.
Cool, nice.
Yep.
Nice. I'm wearing the Omega that you actually sold me.
Nice, guys. Glad you're enjoying it.
Oh yeah, that's the one that's actually stayed. Surprisingly, I sold the Zenith just because I found out I'm not a chronograph guy, and I was kind of forced myself to wear it a little bit here and there because I felt like it was too fancy, if that makes sense for me.
Sure.
And then, but like I said, I definitely do want a Blanc Pawn. And then there's the Design Atelier. He's got a pretty good channel too. He's down in Aruba. What's going on, buddy? And then you got, like I said, you got Amin and Bruce. Anybody have any questions for Ross? Like I said, he's been in the industry for how many years have you been in the industry now?
We're going on 21 now.
21? Oh, okay. Okay,
yeah,
so pretty much almost as long as I've been in retail. Well, I've been in retail almost as long as you've been, not the watch industry. And you got Ken Spear. How's it going, buddy? He's checking in from Pittsburgh. So, but yeah, basically, like I said, Ross is he's a what would you say, like sales rep?
So basically, I have my own company, and I work with all sorts of different brands. From everybody from, it could be Frank Mueller, it could be Talker, it could be Vostok Europe, it could be Arnold & Son, it could be Raymond Weil, it could be anybody. Those are all people I do, and I just I tailor a unique approach. If brands need help with social media, training, sales, marketing, whatever they have. Yes, Rick, Talker I still work with, great people. Ocean Crawler as well. New startup brands, anybody that, needs anything, big brand or small brand, I kind of see what I can do for them and see if we can work it out.
Nice. Like I said, I know he worked with ECJ Lux there for a while. Yep. Before that, now, what made you want to split from traditional, like brick and mortar, to, I guess, self-employed kind of?
Sure. The honest answer is I have 5 kids, and retail, as great as it is, retail it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of having to be, in the store for a lot of it, and then responding to messages at other times. So what I just need to do is I just need to get out of the retail with, so I could spend more time with the kids. So even now with traveling, people talking like, oh my God, you cover the whole country and Canada and the Caribbean. But I work it out. So I'm home Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I travel Wednesday to Friday, and, 4 nights a week I eat dinner with the family. So it's been great.
That's not that bad.
Yeah, no, it works out well. I mean, I hustle. I mean, I've got a 6 a.m. flight on Wednesday morning and a 10 p.m. flight Friday night, but that means I'm home. Other than that, it's 2 nights in a hotel and 5 nights a week in my own bed.
But then again, if you're doing what you love, you're not really working, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, no, the retail world is tough. I mean, it's, you're in the store. My store was open 6 days a week. So you're in there 6 days a week. You're doing a lot of events that are after hours or sporting events, things like that. So it becomes, it just really becomes a 24-hour job. And, with a lot of the brands, with sales being international or things like that, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning talking to clients in Malaysia or in Hong Kong or other times, to make sales. And you do what you have to do, but it just was a lot of hours to put in. And now I make my own hours, so it's good.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing. Now with everything going on with the pandemic and everything, have you noticed like a decline in sales, or have you noticed actual people buying more?
So it's a different. I think it's a little bit of both. I think the brands that sell strictly online are actually doing very well. I think the brands that sell strictly brick and mortar suffered a lot because, from March until May, everything was closed. It was really shut down. On the extreme high end, I think people are still buying. The people that are buying watches that are 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000, they may have been hit by the pandemic, but they're also still doing well. A guy who has 10 million in the bank account, if he takes a 10% hit, he's still got $9 million. He can still buy the watch he wants. So like for example, with brands like Arnold & Son, Frank Mueller that are at that higher tier, the higher end pieces still do well. The person who might be buying $1,000 watch, they might need to save up for, if they've got a good job, but again, they need to save their money to buy that 1,000. Well, maybe they got reduced hours, got laid off, something happened, and they're not able to make that purchase now. So it's, again, the low end, I think, got hit harder than the high end did.
Okay. I was just curious about that. But what all brands are you carrying yourself now, or do you represent now?
So in different capacities, I work with Frank Mueller, I work with Arnold & Son, I work with Raymond Weil, I work with Vostok Europe, I work with Talker, I work with Ocean Crawler, I work with Zenea, I work with Ernst Benz, I work with Bird Vey. I apologize if I'm forgetting anybody on that list that might be watching this. I'm trying to think about the ones I take pictures of and do that. So yeah, those are that's kind of the portfolio, and some of them it's assisting with brand operations. Some of it's just assisting with social. Oh, and I forgot NTH, by the way, so can't forget my buddy Chris there. So I work with all those brands. Some more in a social media capacity, some more in a sales capacity, some more in a training capacity.
Nice. Now, the one brand you mentioned is Zenea. They're pretty new, aren't they?
Yep, Zenea is just starting. It's a startup brand out of Canada. So they've basically taken kind of that classic diver look, but given a little bit of a Canadian twist to it. So it's the first time I've kind of started, with a brand from the very beginning as a launch. So it's been a good adventure. We're pretty excited about that. It looks like we have a question. Aside from online retail, what other marketing strategies? So you've got a little bit of both. The COVID environment really changed a lot of marketing. Online has definitely become a huge push. Brands that were not doing online are, you saw it in the industry. Patek Philippe, for the first time in their brand's history, allowed people to sell online during the pandemic. And I think that's a big statement for the whole industry, the whole global community. Print media is pretty much dead. You have some old school jewelers who believe in it. You have some local publications that do, but for the most part, the print media is gone. It's gone a lot more digital. Marketing strategies, a lot of people are using, your Facebook work, your Google work, your SEO work for it. I can tell you there's one retailer who I work with, who I won't say who it is, but they told me that on a given day, they may have 10 people walk in their store, but they have 10,000 visit the website. And, their strategy is that they invest a lot in Google so that wherever you are in the country, if you Google one of their brands, they come up first. They're located maybe on the East Coast or the West Coast, and regardless where you are, you Google it, they come up first. So the Google SEO work is crucial. From a micro brand perspective, I still think the Facebook ads is being done a lot. It allows them to invest in whatever dollar amount they're comfortable with. Whenever you're working with mass marketing, whether it's billboard, radio, digital, print, something like that, there's set dollar amounts you have to spend. And some of that doesn't work for the micro brand community. The guys that are selling watches for lower margins or lower prices, they don't have that, but they can do Facebook ad spend at $10, $100, $1,000, $30,000, wherever they want to be to reach whatever people they want to reach. We see a lot more what I would call micro events going on. For example, whereas, the days of the watch fair where you'd get all the vendors in and you get 1,000 customers coming through in a weekend, you can't do that now because of COVID. You see the COVID environment, people, you can't get 10, 20, 30, 40 people in a store, but you can do micro events. So what a lot of my retailers will do is, if I'm going to visit them, they may call their top 5 or 6 clients up and we go out to have drinks or we go out to dinner and they can ask me questions about the industry or about the brand, things like that.
Now, have you noticed, I'll answer Rick's question here in a minute, but have you noticed that, or I'll let you answer, excuse me, but have you noticed that like platforms like YouTube, like say like channels like myself are smaller, of course, but like the larger channels and all that, like have you found that's actually helped out also with advertising and everything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, brand awareness on any kind of social platform, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. I mean, the more people talking about your brand, that's the best thing you can have is, rather than paid ads, it's more real people. It's more, that's why I love the Facebook groups, is it's real people talking about watches that they like, that they enjoy, that's their passion.
Nice. And then Rick's got a question. He said, tell us more about Arnold & Son, brand history, ownership, price points, and what is their sweet spot favorite piece. One thing that I learned from you, I didn't know, was Arnold & Son was owned by Citizen.
Correct. So Arnold & Son has a huge history of watchmaking. Nowadays, when we say watches, everybody thinks Swiss, and Swiss watches is what everybody thinks of. But if you go back 250 years ago to world history, England controlled the globe. England owned America at the time. The place we're all sitting was, British soil in 1764 when John Arnold founded the company. India, the Caribbean, all that was all British. And there was a huge history of British watchmaking in the 1700s and early 1800s that a lot of it faded away. And John Arnold was one of the most prominent watchmakers of the time. I think one of the most historical things that people don't realize is, a lot of Breguet invented the tourbillon, but the first tourbillon ever made is in an Arnold & Son movement. So it's a Breguet tourbillon in an Arnold & Son that's hand engraved by, Abraham Louis Breguet, that says, "To my dear friend, John Arnold." And I mean, that's a huge statement that in a museum, the first turb made is in an Arnold & Son movement. And there was a huge partnership of Breguet's son trained under John Arnold, John Arnold's son trained under Breguet. John Arnold was the watchmaker for the royal court for many years. Napoleon has his things. He assisted the Royal Navy with a lot of stuff. There's a great book out there that people might read called Longitude, which is all about watches and sailing. And, a lot of the sunken ships that they find from the Royal Navy had Arnold & Son chronometers in them because they needed accurate timekeeping. And that just didn't, 250 years ago, there wasn't accurate timekeeping. It just didn't exist. So John Arnold made some of the most accurate timekeeping instruments then. So you got a huge history of the brand between all that stuff. They're currently owned by Citizen Group. So Citizen owns Arnold & Son, Angelus, Frederic Constant, Atelier de Monaco, Alpina, Citizen, and Bulova. So a lot of people look and they're like, oh my God, they're owned by Citizen. But anybody who's in business can tell you that's a great thing, because when you've got a huge, powerful company to cover the financial aspect, but still allow you to have aspects of the creative, it's the best of both worlds. So they really have the creative aspect of their own, but they have the money behind them to allow them to, they can spend millions of dollars to research a new movement, whereas other independent brands can't do that, where other brands that are even owned by a group, they're stockholders, there's values behind it. They can't necessarily do that. Price point of the brand.
Would you say they're kind of like a Long & Son, like on a budget, even though they're not really, they're not really cheap pieces, but would you consider them like comparable to like a Long & Son, but a lot cheaper than what they are?
No, because some of the pieces aren't cheaper. I mean, they're in the same price category on a lot of stuff. They're phenomenal movement decoration, phenomenal complications. They're one of the few brands that's doing a true beat second. you know, and I always love to show people that, you know, an automatic that ticks is just a cool story. They do some of the best skeleton movements people have seen, a lot of longer power reserves, you know, from a standard 3-hand that's a 100-hour power reserve to a 8-day piece to a skeleton that's 100 hours or something like that. Price points, they start at 10,000 and go to, well, over 200,000, depending on where you want to be. I would say most people spend between 15 and 50 on them, depending on what material. You know, we obviously know gold versus white gold versus steel. My favorite piece in there is probably the Nebula, which is their kind of traditional skeleton. It's a dual-barreled skeleton, 100-hour power reserve, really nice movement. Just a phenomenal decoration. And I think at $14.9 retail, it's a very good value. You know, I compare that to a lot of skeleton watches from big brand companies, you know, looking at whether it's Hublot, whether it's Blancpain, whether it's Zenith, you know, and to get a piece like this with such a rich history for that value, I think is cool.
Definitely. I know that Arnold, the Globetrotter that you sent me a while back, that was a pretty cool piece. I mean, hand painted dial. I mean,
yeah, they do a lot of artwork. I mean, they do hand painted dials. They're one of the few companies out there that if you wanted to do a hand painted watch, they'll actually do it for you. They did one with a koi fish recently. They've done dragon pieces. They've done a lot of cool, you know, that's the art side of it. So the brand kind of has two aspects. They have, you know, kind of the royal collection, which is pieces that you can see the royal family 200 years ago commissioning the watchmaker to make, and they still have that tradition. And then the instrument collection, which is pieces that were more made for the Navy, the military, the sailing, you know, the whole concept of sailing and needing to know accurate seconds is, you know, it's fascinating to me. It's these guys sailed from England to the US without a GPS, you know. I can't even get to the grocery store without a GPS going, but these guys sailed thousands of miles.
I'm the same way. But we got Tennessee Mike on here. What's going on, Mike? And the Big Wrist. What's going on, guys? And then Rick was saying, nice overview. Thanks for the overview.
Thank you. No, thank you. Hey, Bobby.
What's going on, Bobby? Of course, you know Bobby. I think you sold him a El Primero as well, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
But yeah, anybody else have any questions for us?
Yeah, happy to answer any questions about any of the brands I carry or any of the industry or, you know, what's coming out or what's new or what's going on with anybody. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Now, what do you like more? Do you like micros or in mainstream more?
There's pluses and minuses to both. I think you know, obviously when you're working with, you know, higher price pointed pieces, you know, and you sell a 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 piece, it's, you know, a little bit different than selling a, you know, a micro that's 500 or 1,000, but, you know, both of them are fun. I like the micro aspect, gives you a little bit more freedom, you know, in the watch industry, is that, you know, if you want to do this, you do this. There's not a corporate decision. It's not, you know, going to go from the, you know, to ask anybody in Switzerland, can we do this? What do we want to do with this?
The one thing I like. Oh, go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just reading the question on there.
Oh yeah, if you're going to predict which micro brand would go mainstream and why, is there any that you would predict would be mainstream?
I mean, so there's a little bit of an issue of, you know, some people consider Christopher Ward to be a micro, some consider them to be mainstream. I think they've done kind of the crossover a little bit, that I wouldn't be surprised if they went more mainstream if they're not already. Let's see, which different ones.
What about Zealous, maybe?
I was going to say, Zealous, I can see doing it. I mean, Elshon's built a great brand. I mean, he came out with that Tourbillon product and sold it out, and I give him amazing credit of people that are going to invest that high dollar in a micro brand. That's great. So I can see him making the jump to it. You know, and again, it's talking to different, Manta, I can definitely see doing it. You know,
I had that SkyQuest. I missed that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. You know, I get approached by a lot of micro brands of, you know, hey, we want to get into retail, and some of them have the margin to do it. Some don't have the margin to do it. Some don't like the payment terms, from a retail concept of, look, the great thing is, when you buy a Manta online from Manta, your money goes to their bank account. If it's going through a retailer, again, they're sending it to the retailer, they're going to get paid. There's a lot of there's pluses and minuses to everything. So, when a micro goes to retail, the margins are obviously lower. They're making less money because the retailer needs to make a profit on it as well. So there's a big difference in there that it's not the right fit for every brand. And, we see certain brands that they want to do it, and I'll tell them not to. I mean, I'll tell brands that, stick selling online. I mean, if you've got a good business going online, I don't see a need to to make less money to go into retail.
Because people, I know Zelos has a cult following. Like my buddy Dane, I don't know, Saline Driver's channel. He's got almost, I think, every single Zelos ever made. He's bought pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean, look,
I have a couple in for review right now, and they're actually, I had one a while back, the Swordfish, but I have the titanium in that Bobby lent me, and for $400 base price, that's not bad out the door for everything that you get for
Yeah, no, I mean, with a lot of these brands, I mean, Grupo Gamma the same way. They've got a great cult micro following that whatever they come out with, they can sell it. They don't need to go to a retail environment. I also think there's a price range that a lot of people are comfortable with. I think Zealous did a great job building that. I think if they would have just come out 10 years ago with the Tourbillon for $15,000, people would have told him he's crazy and nobody would have bought it. But he spent a decade building up that following and really, working it. But a lot of people, I think, again, on the price point category, people are comfortable spending $400, $500, $1,000, sometimes even $2,000 on an online micro brand purchase without seeing it. It's when you cross that line that we find people want to try it on. They want to hold it. They want to see it. Same thing with me is I'm comfortable, I would say, probably about to that $1,000 to $2,000 range, buying a piece I like online. I can tell by the millimeter, I can tell by the movement, but above that, I really want to see it. I want to hold it. And that's where retail comes in, is that, the retail atmosphere is a good place for people to see it. I can tell you, even example, I run the chat on the Ocean Crawler website. So if anybody messages Ocean Crawler, good chance are you're talking to me. So a lot of, for example, there's people message in all the time, where can I see your product in? And they list a certain city. And we have a few retailers, not as many as we'd like at this point, but there are a few retailers. So if they're in New York, we have one. If they're in Charlotte, obviously we have one. Atlanta, a couple other key markets, we have retailers that we send them to. But, it's tough of this guy who he lives in California. He likes an Ocean Crawler, but he's not comfortable pulling the trigger without trying it on his wrist. So that's the advantage that retail has.
Definitely makes sense.
Yeah,
definitely makes sense. And then Tennessee Mike mentioned Manta. Like I said, that's one great brand. They just came out with the Noble, which is actually looks pretty cool. I would say the one thing that Manta has is their bracelets. They're probably one of the most comfortable bracelets compared to even almost Omega quality.
No, Manta's a good brand. Manta's been strong. They've got a good following. Rick asked, what are your views on the importance of watch fairs? I'll kind of show my age a little bit and give you a kind of a story behind that. I remember years ago going to Basel World with the old Polaroid, the wind-up Kodak camera, where you would take the picture and wind it and you do that. And I would come back with pictures of watches, and that was the only way you would see, what came out of Basel was you'd go to your dealer and they would show you pictures of what came out. Well, then the internet came out and, people started seeing stuff earlier. It used to be that nobody released anything until 9 a.m. Switzerland time, which was 3 a.m. here on the first day of Basel. Well, then it started to be the day before Basel, Breitling would post all their product on Facebook or Instagram, and all the other brands had to keep up with it. So it almost came to a point of, from a retailer perspective, do you need to go to Switzerland to see this product when you can see it on the internet the week before the show, or 3 days before the show, or a day before the show? So I think the watch fairs are actually going to be the big ones, I think, of the past. I think people are still going to go. I think Watches and Wonders is still going to happen. I think it's still going to do the global ones like in Miami or another city. Yeah, that's what's become Watches and Wonders.
Okay. And then Design Atelier is said, have you had any experience with Chinese movements and brands, and which do you think is comparable to Swiss and Japanese brands? One that I had in mind was, what do you think about Aventi? They're using a Chinese tourbillon, I believe, movement in theirs.
So again, I don't think there's anything wrong with Chinese movements or Japanese movements. I think the NH35 from Seiko has become it's a great piece. It's reliable, it's rugged, it's durable. Miyota, I don't have any issues with. The same thing, the concept of that, I think people have a mindset of what certain movements are going to cost. I think that's one of the things. For example, like when I'm talking to a lot of consumers, if you have a watch with an NH35 movement, it's a Seiko movement, they feel that watch should cost $500 or $700. And if you have a Swiss ETA movement, that should cost this. And what a lot of people think is, again, there's a lot more that goes into the watch than just the movement. I could take an NH35 movement and put it in a solid gold case, and there's still value to that. We could do it with an enamel dial or a fume dial. There's value to that. So there's different reasons of why people buy watches. There's your movement guys who they buy it because of the movement. They love in-house movements. They love FP Journe. They love Kari Voutilainen. They love these independent watchmakers that make incredible movements by hand, limited production. Then you have guys that are into dials. And H. Moser makes some of the best dials in the world. Other people look at it, they go, it's a three-hand watch. It's very plain. But these are all the dial guys that like it. Then there's people that are into, the skeletonization or the decoration, and Arnold and Son, Patek, other people, Lange, are phenomenal at that. So I think the movements is part of it, of what people want to buy. I think for example, like the NH35, I don't think is that different than a Sellita SW200, other than one's Swiss and one's Japanese. I think the accuracy is pretty much the same. Durability is the same.
I know personally, if I were to pick one with the NH35 or a Miyota, I would probably pick the NH35. Only reason being, some of the companies I know regulate the Miyota movement, but a lot of the watches with Miyota movement have that little whine. I can hear that rotor whine. That's about the only thing that kind of drives me crazy personally. But that's just subjective too, though. I mean, that's not here nor there. And then Nelo's asking, does anyone have Mo watches to allow you to try out if you don't have a local retail location nearby?
So NTH does have a try it before you buy it kind of program, where essentially you'll buy it, but you have a period of time where you can return it, for a certain amount. So people are like that. Amin, I agree with you 1,000% that, definitely. I agree people are wrong on it, but I'll tell you, with selling watches for so many years, the first question people ask with a watch is, what movement is it? And it's like, if you say what movement it is, they're either going to say that's great and they feel it's a good value, or they're going to say it's too expensive for that, without taking into so much more of the, concept of, again, what goes into it. You could make a watch with an NH35 or Miyota with the most amazing dial in the world. You could do it with a case that's made from something. You could do so much unique finishing work. That's just, again, there's so much more in the movement. So you're absolutely right.
Like, this is a perfect example. Well, she's got it priced right. Like I said, this is the Zelos, the Bobby lent me in. This is the Swordfish. This is a titanium, and it wears really light. For under $400, what you get for it has the NH35 movement. I mean, it's got a killer dial, and chances are you're not going to see anybody out in the wild wearing one like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Whatever. Yeah, no, I agree 1,000%. I mean, and you look at it, and there's so many brands out there. I mean, take a Valjoux 7750 movement. I mean, Talker provides a value of in that. I mean, the Hulk that you reviewed of $1,600 starting at retail, is great. And we look at it, and that's the same movement Tag Heuer uses in a lot of watches for $4,000. It's the same movement Hublot uses in a Big Bang. You look at a Classic Fusion or a Big Bang. The Hublot Big Bang is $13,700, and it's using the same movement that's in this Talker for $1,600. I'm not saying the Hublot is a bad value because there's a lot of stuff they give you. You know, it's a cool case, it's got a ceramic bezel. And look, it's the official watch of FIFA, Ferrari, boxing, poker. If you want a watch that's going to be a statement piece, Hublot is great. But from a movement perspective, it's the exact same insides.
And I had actually watched a good live stream the other night. It's been about a week or so ago. I don't know if you know Mark Goldberg and Jeff and Mahan. They were talking about, like, I don't know if we're, like, as watch enthusiasts, we're just brainwashed to think that certain things are better than others when they're really not. Like, you know, like a Hardlex crystal on a, you know, as opposed to sapphire. Do we just not like the Hardlex crystal just because that's what's popular to hate?
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good point.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
overall, there could be other aspects of the watch that are made better. And then Rick is saying more brands should put watches in the hands of collectors to try on for a few weeks and post to social media and pass watch to a new enthusiast. I feel like that could probably work, like a brand ambassador kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I think the hard part I can tell everybody, you know, from a brand perspective is I see people from social media messaging every brand on a daily basis. You know, I can tell you the brands I work with, we get messages from somebody that tells me that they have a huge social media following, and you look at it and they've got 37 followers on Instagram. And they're like, can I get a free watch? Can you send me a watch for a review? And it's so hard to filter through. I'm all with Rick of, you know, getting, you know, good collectors who are, you know, loyal to brands, loyal to retailers, getting them the watches, getting them to check it out, getting their opinion, you know. I think that, you know, that would be great. But filtering through the social media it's so tough now. It's like, no joke. I mean, we get messages on these brands from, you know, Asian markets that, you know, hi, I want, you know, I'm happy to do a review for you. Please send me free watch. You know, Russian markets, things like that, of people that just want free product. And, you know, a lot of it, you know, the hard part is too, you know, it's very disappointing from a brand perspective of, you see a lot of times where you'll give a, you know, a reviewer or a, you know, blogger or somebody a watch, and then you see them sell it. And it's like, you know, that's such a spit in the face of the brand that, you know, it was a partnership. It was, we gave you a piece, you were supposed to promote it, review it. You did that. And then 3 weeks later, we see it posted on, you know, eBay for a third of retail. So it's, you know, that's a tough part coming from a brand perspective.
You got to filter the actual enthusiast from the person that's out there to make money, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Rick, I mean, I've seen Rick post online for, you know, as long as I have. He's got an amazing collection, great guy. I would have no problem, you know, sending him stuff to do it like that. That'd be great. But then there's so many other people that, like, no joke, on a daily basis, I can sort through the Instagrams of the brands I work with and just delete from random people that be asking for free stuff.
And then Conspiracy Chris over at NTH just seems to be doing almost everything right. And that's definitely a good statement there. Like, he knows how to build a good watch for an affordable price.
Yeah,
because I had the Amphion in a while back, and that was a really good watch. I would say it's almost as good as the Black Bay I had in before, because it's comparable to the Black Bay. I mean, definitely. I mean, they definitely kind of. I know he probably doesn't like that term, but it's definitely kind of an homage, I feel like, to other watches. But he throws his own twist on it. For
he
sure.
does.
And he knows how to build a quality watch for a great price.
I mean, you look at their brand and they make a good quality product at a good price. They've got their brand message is very clear. I think that's what a lot of brands, both mainstream and micro, don't understand is, you know, you look at a brand like NTH and Chris, and they do it's a no frills diver. Its focus is loom, legibility, durability, accuracy. You know, that's what they focus on, and they keep the price very strong, very competitive. You see a lot of companies out there, and they've got a diver over here, and they've got a pilot watch over here, and they've got a dress watch over here. And it's like, what are you doing? What's the brand DNA? And, you know, you look at what NTH has done since day one, and the brands maintain the same. They take they take elements from classic vintage divers. You know, you look at the, you know, the Takuno, which is a great looking watch that they make. And it's got clear elements from Universal Genève, clear elements from vintage Longines, you know, kind of put together, and, you know, really just a cool piece overall that has that story.
Definitely. And Min says we forced all these companies to go in house and then wonder why prices are going up. You had a good article about this.
Yeah, it's 100. It's very
Clive,
true.
Watch Wranglers on here. What's going on, Clive? And then he said, I thought all brands give you everything. And then we got Min said, one way to get around that issue is to require people to watch back after review, or send the watch back after review, excuse me. Enthusiasts will be excited to try to watch. That's exactly. That's like with me, I was, excited. If it weren't for you, I would have otherwise never been able to hold the Blunt Pond to see whether or not, I want to eventually buy one. And now I know that's one that I definitely want to buy.
Yeah. That's what we're doing a lot of is, Chris has been great to organize an Earn Spends Chrono Lunar that's going to go on a tour of, a lot of different people. And, everybody that's on here, thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely, I think a lot of the brands are happy to send stuff to reviewers, things like that, to do it, to enthusiasts, to anybody like that. They can try it, talk about it, really enjoy it. I think that's definitely that is a way that we do. And I know, like I said, I've sent Chris, an Arnold and Son, a Ernst Benz, a Blancpain. You just have the Talker. We're doing Ernst Benz. So yeah, we're definitely happy to send stuff to guys that we know are good for it. Ivan's not on this, but Ivan's been great about, doing reviews or sending product. He's a great guy to work with. Dane's guy had the Talker. We're going to send him some more stuff. So yeah, it's definitely, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, it's otherwise, pieces I wouldn't be able to see in person because here at the beach, I know we don't have a lot of ADs. The only AD I have locally is a Rolex AD, and it's like half an hour away. And of course, with them, their stuff's hardly ever in stock.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
And then it says,
I like it, Clive. I'm down. We'll do that for you.
yeah.
I like it.
And then we got Neo. What's going on, Neo? Moser got a run from the Pioneer Tour. That's what Amin was asking. And then it's Neo coming in. What's going on, Neo?
The next question on there from design is, what do you think Apple needs to do to make watch collectors consider it? Again, the people have asked me for many years, has Apple affected the luxury watch sales? And at the lower tier, I would say yes. I think some people that might buy a Citizen or a Bulova or something like that, they're not going to, because they're just going to buy the Apple Watch, and it's going to give you the, their phone, their technical, things like that. The people that are buying a watch for a status or for a fashion or for a statement or for an appreciation of art, I don't think they're necessarily going to go with an Apple product, regardless of what Apple would do. I think, the guy who's buying a Patek Philippe Calatrava, which is incredible, 3-hand dress watch, $20,000 piece, he's not going to switch to, to an Apple for, he's not going to switch to it. He really goes with the, the smart, the craftsmanship, the design, the fact that a person made it. It's very similar to a lot of things. I look at it as cars. You look at a smart car or a hybrid, things like that. Those cars get you from point A to point B. They get better gas mileage. They're electric. There's no, gas mileage. It's, much more cost effective. But people are still buying Ferrari. They're still buying Lamborghini. They're still buying Aston Martin. You look at Bugatti. You look at these extreme luxury brands, and the smart car, the hybrid, it hasn't affected their business. It's almost pushed more people to it. I don't think anybody said, hey, I'm not going to buy a Ferrari 488 or a Spider or anything like that because, BMW now has a hybrid. No, they still want that. They still want that power, that statement that when they drive by, that, it looks like we're all guys in here, that a girl's not going to look over and be like, oh, wow, that's, a great Prius you're driving down the street, Yeah. Ferrari, it turns heads. Same thing, the Prius is fine. It gets great. Again, it's more cost effective. It's cheaper. The same thing, if a guy walks in, we'll just use Rolex. You got a Rolex on the wrist or you got an Apple Watch. That Rolex has that power, that feel to it, that the Apple Watch doesn't.
I definitely agree with you on that. Just like a lot of the same people that would be buying the Apple Watch are probably buying like Michael Kors and fashion brands like that. Just they're just there for they don't care about the actual watch itself.
Right. Yep.
And I agree with Clive. Clive said he thinks that real watch brands would be smart to give Apple permission to use their iconic watch faces. I could see
I've seen some do it. I've seen some people I think have I think Apple has some of those like fonts you can download or whatever it is that'll make your Apple Watch look like it. But yeah, I think it's an idea, put it on there, but it's still that again, it's still the shape. I mean, I've seen people there's companies that make solid gold bands for Apple Watches now. I mean, that's to me, that's crazy, spending $7,000 for a gold bracelet for your Apple Watch. Yeah. 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 I mean, like Min said, a lot of people have both. Yeah.
Yeah, no, a lot of people, that. I think a lot actually has both.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Min's saying he knows a lot of people with luxury watches and Apple Watches.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the Apple Watch is a tool. The Apple Watch is useful. It's helpful. It helps them make calls. They can see it. It's right on the wrist. But it didn't stop them from buying the luxury watch. And same thing, the luxury watch didn't stop them from buying it. They can have both. The guy who's buying a Rolex, if he wants to buy an Apple Watch, he'll buy an Apple Watch, no problem. Same thing with AP, Patek. They want that Apple Watch for the convenience and the functions of it, they buy it. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
A lot of people. Again, the Apple Watch is a tool. The Apple Watch is a tool. It's a device. It's it's a useful for work. It's not like I wouldn't consider an Apple Watch a fine timepiece. I don't think anybody would say that. No,
yeah. I think they made too many to become collector's items. I think even later on, like when they get discontinued, I don't think it's just like the SKX. There's so many, even though it's no longer made, they're not going to be like extra rare or extra valuable,
Yeah, and you said G-Shock.
Oh yeah, I've got I'm up to like 4 or 5 G-Shocks now.
Yeah, it's a great watch.
He says he has both a sub and an Apple Watch. He's got G-Shocks.
Yeah.
And then is saying it's a cool watch. But anyways, guys, we're going on almost 50 minutes here. I don't want to keep Ross too long because I know he stays busy. Anybody else have any questions before we call it a night?
Yeah, ask. I mean, again, there's a lot of brands I work with. If you guys have any questions about those or anything else in the industry, I mean, I'm here to answer them. I'm here to help.
But, all right. I guess we'll call it a night at that one. All right. I appreciate you for coming on, Ross. Like I said, anybody wants to get a hold of Ross, you know how to get a hold of him on Facebook.
Yep.
And after this is up and live, I'll leave your. Do you want me to leave your contact info?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, perfect.
I appreciate everybody for coming on.
Well, we got. Why doesn't Arnold? We got one more question.
Okay.
So it says, why doesn't Arnold and Son get more attention?
Okay. Yeah.
So Amin's question about why doesn't Arnold and Son get more attention? I think part of it is their distribution is very, very, very low. They don't have a lot of dealers worldwide. They don't spend a lot of money on marketing. But again, it's very small production. They're not trying to sell 1 million watches a year. It's very small of, what comes into, especially the US market. There's not many watches per year coming in, not much. Dane, I'm sure he'll put it up so you can watch it again. But yeah, no, I mean, Arnold & Son definitely is a great brand, great quality. I mean, I'll, if we want to send one out and talk about a review for something, we can definitely do it. But you can kind of put it together and you see the quality of it. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's you got it. Awesome. Yeah. And the Clive, like they're owned by Citizen, and that's a great thing, I think, for them actually, because the same thing, if a big company told me they wanted to, buy my company and give us an almost unlimited budget for research, development, et cetera, but still have the creative design, I think that'd be great. I don't think being owned by Citizen's a bad thing. I think the same thing, you can say Breguet is owned by Swatch. Nobody holds that against them. So I don't hold the Citizen against them either.
Just like Zodiac's owned by Fossil Group.
What's that?
But I was just saying, just like the Fossil Group owns Zodiac.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like that.
I mean, you can look at it as, I mean, the fact that, Yeah. Oh yeah, that HMS one. I think that's an amazing watch. Yep.
Yeah, Neo. This is Ross. The El Primero.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember Neo.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
And then a man said he had the Arnold and Son HMS one, and he thinks they are very underrated. I definitely agree with that.
No,
There's a lot of quality for the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the HMS I think is a great piece. I mean, it's 10,000. It was 10. It's not made anymore, but it was right under 10 retail. It was 100-hour power reserve, amazing movement decoration, and such a slim case. You can see a lot of brands making thin watches, but to have a thin power, that with 100-hour, in-house movement power reserve, that HMS one was a great value.
Definitely. And then Dane said that UAC Nardian is owned by Swatch. He said, ask him how he knows.
It's actually
got
one
you,
of
Dane.
my
UN's actually an interesting brand. I actually like the Maxi Marine. I know a lot of people don't like UN, but I actually found out about them. You remember DuPont Registry?
Yeah.
Magazine. As high school, I would stroll through the pages and drool over the cars and stuff, and that's where I found out UN. They used to market on there a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So when will Defy Inventor be around? I actually haven't worked with a Zenith retailer in a year, so you'd have to contact them on it. Unfortunately, I can't answer that.
Nice, man. I didn't know you had a UN.
UN's a great brand.
But oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then Dane is saying his Arnold and Son is a True Moon, big watch, been a solid performer for years now. Nice.
Yeah. Arnold and Son's a great brand. That's one thing I can say is, all the brands I work with is, I want to be able to stand behind it. That's my reputation's important. And, I'm not going to work for a brand that I don't believe in or endorse a brand I don't believe in, regardless of what it is. I think each brand has to have its own merit, its own right. So I definitely, I believe in everything I work with, from Talker, Ocean Crawler, NTH, Arnold, Mueller, all that stuff. I really think that there's a key value, important part of the watch industry they provide.
And guys, you can't go wrong buying through Ross. Like I said, I bought, how many did I buy from you last year? I bought what, like 6 or 7 different pieces from you last year, I think.
Something like that.
But anyways, guys, we'll go ahead and call it a night. I appreciate everybody for coming on.
Yep. Awesome, guys. Thank you all very much.
Guys later. Thanks again, Ross.
Thanks. My pleasure. Bye, guys.
Go ahead.